Hey guys, and how's it going? I hope you're all doing well. So decided after the last drive in this thing that it's just running too hot, so I decided I'm going to go ahead and pull the engine, and unfortunately I'm going to have to change the fan shroud, put a doghouse one on it, so it's going to change the look of it a little. So we're going to do that. I take the engine out, change it to a doghouse. So I'll have two coolers on here. Then I'm going to change, what was I going to change? Well, we might change the carburetor. I'm not sure. So I got that. I might do, another thing I might be doing is putting a fan in to get airflow going through the back here. So I've ordered a fan to put in here. Not sure where I'm going to put it yet. I was going to put it over on that side, but I just remembered the batteries over there, so we'll have to see how that works. So I was going to put a fan over there and suck the air in from one side and have it blow out the other to get more airflow going through here. Trying to think of some other things I was going to do. Oh, I'm changing the exhaust. I'm going to take off the stale air heat boxes. I think they're restricting the flow, and I'm going to put on just J-tubes on it because honestly we really need it to drive. I'm not that worried about using the heater. So we've got to get all those issues resolved to where this thing's running a little cooler. I was considering changing the exhaust. I don't know. We'll look at that when we get to it. Never know. Maybe I'll end up changing the exhaust to something different. But I don't know if that's really the problem. I mean, I'm sure that it's part of it, because when it's up in higher RPMs, it's definitely more. The restriction probably causes a little more stress on the engine. Yeah, but at the lower RPMs, it really flows good. And I didn't really want to have the a really loud exhaust or anything like that on this, because when I'm operating the lift. When you're up in the lift, you want to be able to yell down to people or whatever, if you need something or whatever. Because I'm going to use this thing as, not going to use it as like a work truck, but we've put up banners with it and stuff like that. So I don't know if you saw those videos. I lost my footage on the ones I did, so I wasn't able to post that in the video I did. But Shin from Hot VW's magazine did get some video footage of me putting up and taking down a banner. They're on his channel if you want to see that. So anyway, let's take the motor out. Interested in one of these, there's a link in the description. These things are amazing. It's really fast. You can see this one here is quite a bit bigger, thicker. Again, you guys, you got to always have the correct amount of shims. There's 3, so regardless of which side of the fan they're on, you have to have 3 in there. If you don't have 3 in there, your fan's going to crack. I'll put them all on this side first and check it. You gotta sometimes take the shims and move them from this side of the fan to the other side, but you have to have 3 in there or it's going to crack. What am I finding? Those cheap fans never last forever. They don't last very long. It's like, no. You got to get them on the right way. It has to have the correct amount of shims or it will crack. Everything counts in large amounts on Volkswagens. All right, I'll get that on there. Talk to you guys later. As I was working on this thing, I want to show you a couple things here. One of the things I noticed, I got this thing here, and I thought I would never use this, okay? But a nut dropped down somewhere when I was taking the intake manifold off, but I thought it went in here, in this area, and I just wanted to rule out that it might have gone down the infamous hole. So I was able to take this tool and I'll turn it on and show you just so you can see. I mean, it's really simple. It's from Beaver, of course. All the stuff I get, and you can look down in here and obviously see if there was a nut, because I can actually move this knob right here and it makes the end of this thing move. Look, so you can put it anywhere. I've used that to fix oil leaks, to find an oil leak, pinpoint it in places you can't see. I mean, I can't believe all the things I've used this for. But anyway, so I've ruled out that it didn't go down the port. I've looked down the port, I looked down the valve, the back sides of the valves, everything. I know that it's not in there, so that eliminates me from having to take the head off, which is, you know, because I can't guess. It has to be right. You know, I'm not gonna chance it on an engine, not with the parts being as expensive as they are. So anyway, it got in there before I got a chance to put anything in the hole, put a rag in there or anything. Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot on VWs. So, was it running too lean? Definitely not. Or that's what a good plug should look like. But was it running hot? This was nice and clean. See all that white on the outside of it? Now if you see white on the inside of your exhaust, that tells you you're probably lean. But this is from heat. This thing was getting so hot. So, I mean, I think these are fine for the 40 horse, but for the 1800, I'm just going to take them off and put J-tubes on it. I wanted to keep this thing as original as possible, but it's just not looking like it's going to be very possible. So my mixture was right on. Okay, I wasn't too lean. I didn't think I was. But I just wanted to show the skeptics. But our exhaust is just too small. You know, I knew it might be, but I thought, well, you know, 1600 runs with this little bitty thing, and it gives it a lot of really low end torque. I mean, this thing runs the way with this exhaust on there, it's like a tractor. You barely touch the gas, and when you're going really slow, and it just pulls. It's really weird. I've never had a stock exhaust, and I probably never will again. So I'm going to take that off, and since I'm not going to put heater boxes on it, I don't care if the heater works in this thing really. It'd be nice, but and these style heater boxes I think are restricting the flow, along with having the cool tin on there. I think it's just those two things together don't work. So I mean, I think it's restricting some of the airflow a little bit, but I'm not going to take a chance in putting this in here again, while I've got it out, I'm just going to do everything, just update it all, and just, I thought maybe it would work. Again, I'm not going to guess this time. I'm just going to do all the stuff that does work. So heater boxes are coming off. That thing's coming off. I'm going to go I was thinking about what I would use on here. And, I could put a merged on here. It'd be nice. But then the problem is one of the problems with the merges, they don't have the heat riser. So I'd have to make heat risers for it. So there's that issue with a merged. What you can do, well, so one of the ones with the separate tube, the exhaust with a separate tube, if you have one of those, like a 36 horsepower one, you can take that whole piece off and then just do like what they did here, put it on that way, or you can just put in I put little short pieces on there and then cut the flanges off of another exhaust, and I put them on that way before too. So you can do either way, but I just don't want a loud merged on here, so I'll have to put a tailpipe on it and everything else. I think the best way for this engine, I was looking at exhaust systems. I think Vintage Speed, if has their nice bus exhaust, those are like $800, way out of my price range right now. So I'm going to go with the single tip, which is a really good upgraded exhaust for a kind of a stock look. Now it does have the one pipe coming out, but it comes out on this side versus the original one over there, and it's bigger than the stock one, if you know what it is. Single tips, we'll put it on, you'll see later in the video, but just wanted to show a couple of those things. I put a link in the description for that thing. Honestly, I never thought in this world I'd ever use that, and I use this thing all the time. I use that camera. I have found, like, I've been looking at an oil leak under my car. I thought, oh wow, it's the valve cover, and I started using that thing and digging down through the wires and everything else and taking that in and turning the camera back upward. Well, I could see it was the O-ring from the oil filter. I would have never thought, and within 10 minutes I had it figured out, versus a couple of hours on the lift with lights and trying to dig in places, mirrors and all that stuff. That little tiny camera on the end of that thing, you can dig and go into anywhere with it. So it's just having the one with the little swivel in too is absolutely a must. If you're going to get one of these, get the one with the swivel. They have one without it, but the one with the swivel in, a little more money, but man, it is just a tool you really need today, especially on your late models. A lot of people think I'm just slinging stuff. I'm not. I don't care. It's just stuff that works. The stuff that I use, the things that I have on my YouTube channel that I'm showing people is stuff that I would buy myself. I'm not trying to just make money. It's so insignificant. If you guys saw how little it is, over a year I might make $100 on referrals or something like that, and tons of them. And it's, it's a really, but since, but it's an opportunity for me to get free stuff, which I'm really interested in, getting free tools. I spend, my biggest expense was tools for a long time, and now I try and get as much as I can for free, because I just, money's running low. Just like all of you guys, I know it is. Times are getting a little sketchy. I mean, I'll be fine. But it is really good to get the free tools. And everything I show you guys does work. And this ratchet, oh my God. This thing is so much faster than the Harbor Freight. If that doesn't make you just get excited, I don't know what does. That is pretty cool. And it doesn't over torque them, so it's only it goes up to, they say 33 foot-pounds. I mean, it could be right near there. I'd say 25, but anyway, I still don't know where that nut went. It may have fell all the way to the ground. So anyway, but at least I've ruled out that it's inside the engine. It's not, definitely not in there. I've looked all the way around the cylinder, so really cool. And it went in the port, got all the way around the valve. I can see everything. So what I took this off for is I'm going to put the temp sensor, I'm just going to permanently mount it. You know, the original ones were, they had a little, on the late models, they had like a little perch right here or something like that, which is right near the exhaust valve, but it's not on the exhaust where this one was. Would be good right there, but I can't. So I'm just going to go with taking this out, where I had the other one, which this one only went to, I forget what it was, 250 degrees, I think, which is kind of a running temp for Volkswagens. So I needed it to go up to, 500. So I got this, and the problem is I tried to bend this around the spark plug and it doesn't fit in there. And so, and it's a pain to take on and off every time you pull your spark plugs out. So there's always that issue. And this big giant thing here, I couldn't bend it to get around that. So if I just put it there, it's be fine. It's close enough. So I'm going to do. So that's what I'm doing this for. That's why I took this tin off. That's on and it spins perfect. No rubbing. Got my cooler on. Just got to tighten these guys up. Put my temperature sending unit on there, on the head. So that'll be better. Right, a couple things I moved along here. Got my clamp on the back so that this won't slide up. You always put a hose clamp there, guys. It doesn't come there from the factory, but if you don't, this hose will start to slide its way up, and then your throttle cable rubs on this piece of tin, and then it ends up breaking. So you don't want to do that. I've got this thing here through the hole. I mounted it to the same hole of the other one, use the same threads. I've just got to put on, figure out what carburetor I'm going to put on here. I'll put on the belt. Got this thing on. This thing's tightened up good. I'm going to pick up my exhaust in the morning. I don't know. I count my shims. Always make sure, just double check them. Saw an extra one on the ground. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. All 9 shims. Gotta have 9 shims on here, guys. Same thing as the fan. If you don't have the 9 shims on here, the pulley will crack. The same thing, the fan. If the fan does not have the 3 shims on it, it's going to crack. All right, a lot of progress here. I got to put the nutserts in, so I hung the bracket on here with the air filter. This bracket here for the single cab holds the air filter like that. And so I marked it. Now I got to put nutserts in. These new fan shrouds, they don't have nutserts in them. What the heck? That thing didn't even stay on there, so I'm gonna have to take that back out. Yeah, this thing pulled through. It usually stays, but looks like I'm gonna have to. Well, I think I can do it without pulling the carburetor. Thank goodness. Most of them you got to pull the carburetor back off. May or may not need to, but I'll have to put a washer on there. You see, this is what causes your cable to break right here. So you got to check all that stuff. So anyway, I will fix that as well. I just keep finding stuff like that. I've got these things drilled out. I'm going to go ahead and take the valve covers off and vent the side right here. That's how I did mine, I think, last time. I'm going to vent it right there, and then just weld a piece of tubing on there, and then put a breather hose through here, clamp it on the valve cover, and then I'm just going to actually I'm not going to put a breather box on it, but I'm just going to put a extra something to make it a little air filter thing on there just to help it breathe a little bit better, and then tee it into the air cleaner. So I'm going to do that. Well, I've got it apart. Oh, this one doesn't have a vent. I may change that. I think I've got one that has the one that goes to the air cleaner. Oh, but does this air cleaner even have one? It doesn't. So it doesn't have a tube to it. So yeah, because it's 40 horse. So anyway, I may just be able to do it with the valve cover vent. I can always change that thing later. It's a bit of a hard thing to change in the car, but it could be done. And then I'll have those two sides venting together. That'll help. I don't think it's building up that much crankcase pressure, but just while I've got it apart, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So anyway. And so anyway, I've got the oil lines run. I'm putting the filter way up in the front. It fits underneath the bars. I could not do that while it was on the ground. Literally couldn't jack it up where it was when I couldn't move the truck. So where it was at when I put the engine in, I was kind of stuck with having to put the stuff in the back here. Not exactly the best place to put it. It's better if it's up where I've got it now, which is, let's take a look, which is right here in a bus. It's best if it's way up here. I know it's a long ways up, but it's just out of the way of a lot of things. And then of course I put the oil filter sideways, which I'd rather have it that way. You can see there, and I've got a new oil filter, new oil while I got it out. So it's got to do the break-in now, and then adjust the valves, retorque the heads. And no, I'm not going to pull the shroud. I only retorque the bottom four. You pull off the rockers and retorque the bottom four. That's all you really need to do. We've been doing that, you know. VW shops have been doing that for many years, and we haven't had heads come loose just from retorquing the bottom four. The ones underneath here, the head bolts be underneath there. The ones up above, we just don't mess with those because we can't get to them. So you're not going to take all the tin off and retorque the heads that way. Nobody does that I know of. Most Volkswagen shops do the bottom four. So anyway, so we got that ready. We're going to go ahead and finish this drilling. I'm waiting for the exhaust system. This, I had just some J-tubes, but I had two lefts. So I had to recut this one here. I'm going to have to re-weld that. So here, I'm going to re-weld this. But I want the extractor on here so that I can make sure it's in the right position. Because almost always these are off. So if I can get it on, put the extractor on, and then get it in the right position, and then slide this tube off and then weld it and put it on so that it's not stressed. Because what you get, exhaust leaks a lot of times because of the exhaust is kind of cockeyed. A lot of these extractors are poorly made. Oh great, that broke off. Wonderful. So anyway, got that issue now. So anyway, the extractors get kind of crooked, and what you end up having is exhaust leaks here, okay? Because you know, you end up having them at the flanges, and occasionally I've had to double gasket the flanges to get them to not leak, and that's one of the things we used to do a long time ago. I've got massive ants now. I don't know if you can see. Everywhere I've got ants. Just this year was just horrible. I've been killing them, but they just keep coming back. We got ant traps all over the place, and you know those taro ones, it's probably one of the best ones to use. Anyway, so back to the engine. We got to find we got the exhaust system. They're out of them. They didn't carry them anymore at Carcraft. They used to have those in stock, but they don't anymore. It is one of the cheapest exhaust systems that works decent. And it doesn't look obvious that you have a, you know, big muffler hanging out or anything, and I didn't want that. So this works good. We'll see later. Okay, I got to get back to it and fix all the stuff that's, get a washer for that. Crazy. All right, talk to you guys later. I really try and refrain from using nut certs. I usually use T-nuts and weld them in, and I don't have problems. I always seem to not quite get the hole just right. If the hole's a little bit too big, got problems. And then I realized that you don't put a washer between the nut cert and the wrench. You just put the nut cert against the wrench, because then it stays still. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Just put a washer on this side like that, and then no washer against the nut cert. Then it tightens up. Then you can use something that's a little slower, because then it doesn't pull through as easy. But once it pulls through once, you're screwed. It's just junk. You're gonna keep on having problems. So that's 3 times of doing it. But I brought out 4 nut certs. Never buy just 1 or 2. Always buy a bag of them, because you're gonna go through them. Just so you know. All right, so I got this thing here wired up, and I used this as my ground side because I don't want hot, you know, so that if somebody bumps against this, you know, whatever. So what I did is I've got my 2 hot leads tied together. In fact, I almost did it wrong. If you can see, I had to cut a wire. And people go, well, Mike, give me the wiring diagram. Listen, if you can't put this through your head, you're never going to be able to figure out how to fix it. That's why I don't put wiring diagrams on this stuff. These 2, remember, you have a set of points in here. So you got what they call a line side and a load side. Okay, the line side is the smaller wires. So the white and the black are the line side. The load side are the red and the blue on this circuit, and they're all different. So that's why I can't give you a wiring diagram, because they may not have this relay anymore. So look, the one opposing each other are one circuit, other ones are the other one. So when the black and the white in this case energize, so I have a positive and a negative on the black and the white, the points close. When the points close, this circuit between the red and the blue is activated. So I have to just run this through my head, you guys. You got to run it through your head. You can't do this with a wiring diagram. So I've got 2 positives, right? See here? This is positive coming through, energizing both sides of this. Now I've got what they call a floating ground. So now, how does my ground work? My ground goes from here, okay? So I got to have a ground before this is energized. So the ground goes through here, goes through the switch, and over here to ground. All right. So it's grounded right here on the top. If you can see up there, I got it to that screw. So it's my ground. So when the switch closes, right, this is now grounded. So I have a negative and a positive. The white's going to be positive. This is going to be negative when the switch is closed, which is when it's hot, right? So what happens when that happens? When I have a positive and negative on the primary, what happens on the secondary? The points close. So now the points close between the positive, which is this blue wire is hot, right? All the time. Goes through here, it's closed. Now I've got that one going to the fan, right? And the other side here is going to a ground over here. And this blue does not get hot until the white and the black have positive and negative. It's electromagnet. It closes a set of points. It's very simple. So I can't put that in the drawing because it's different every time. This one I wanted a floating ground because I don't want hot wires on here. and I tie them together using this here so that I only have one thing hooked to ground. If you got more than one ground, it always ends up being a problem. So this is less problematic. I'm trying to show you how to think this stuff through. Look, and you just have to put the circuit down in your head and go, okay, I got a positive and a negative. I need a positive and negative everywhere I go, okay? For this fan to work, it needs a positive and a negative. And I'm going to use the positive as a switch, okay, for this fan, but I'm using the negative as a switch to activate the circuit. It's very simple, but complicated at the same time. You have to just sit there and run yourself through it. Like I said, I almost hooked it up wrong, but I have to do it myself that way. I have to go through the process of, okay, how's this going through here? And then it tells me that I have it hooked up right, okay? That's how you do it. And I can't really draw you a diagram of it. You have to, again, understand how a relay works. It's real simple. The relay is just a electromagnet. One side's an electromagnet. One of the two wires is an electromagnet, and the other side is a set of points, okay? Electromagnet, what happens when electromagnet energizes? It moves, right? It moves the set of points closed. So the other side's a set of points. It's that simple. All right, hopefully that helps you understand this stuff. I mean, I can't do it for you, but, you know, anyway, we'll do the best we can to get you through it. All right, so I got this thing all together, got the exhaust on. Just need to recheck a couple bolts. And then I'm gonna put those nipples in the valve covers, get that going, get this thing back in here and start hooking up all the oil lines, clean up everything. A lot of work to do. All right, let's take a look here. It's kind of bright out right now, but so I got this breather hooked up here, got a filter right here, and the fan's right there. So airflow is going to be kind of creating a little bit of a vacuum here, and I think that that'll help draw air. The same thing that road draft tube does. Air comes across the bottom of the car and creates vacuum, and that's why the road draft tube is really important right here. The road draft tube goes down, air goes across. When you're going down the road, air comes across this and should suck a little bit of air and keep it pretty well low enough so this here is not kinked. There's plenty air and it's on really tight, so you shouldn't even need clamps on there. It's not going to build up any major pressure. Yeah, if it's lucky if 1 or 2 pounds at the most, so it shouldn't blow off. So it's really tightly on there, so good hose too. So all right, we got that done. Gotta love those brand new mufflers. All the paint just burns right off of them. So anyway, sounds good. I got to do some work on it. Carburetor still not, I'm not liking it. So anyway, this is back running. No leaks. Well, I think I got a valve cover leak over there. I gotta check it out. Just gonna burn off some of this paint. We'll see what we can do next. Guys, that's it, I guess. I went ahead and ran it for a little bit. I'll show you what it sounds like. I mean, it sounds good right now, but I've got the air screw turned in too far, so I've had to turn it almost all the way in because it's running way too rich at idle. You can, when you fire it up with the air screw further out, it just blows black smoke when you first hit the gas, so that tells you, you know, it's too rich at idle and it's lopey, you know. So I just turned it in and then turned it all the way in, and it's kept running, and I backed it out just a little bit. You turn the throttle, the air screw in until it starts to stall, and then you back it out, you know, to where it doesn't, and then I go another quarter turn. That's normal idle adjustment. So what's happening is the further I turn it in, the more it raises the idle, and then when I hit the gas with it out at all, it starts to blow a little bit of black smoke, then it goes. So I'm gonna have to redo the jetting the idle jet's definitely too rich. So and I don't really like the dual springs on that carburetor anyway. That's got to go. I don't know. I have another Solex that I might put together for it. I got to really look at that one really good. I got to make sure that the barb isn't going to pull out, nothing like that. And then put that on here maybe. And I have a 34. I could put an adapter and put that on here. I don't know. There's not a lot of space at the top. So with the original air cleaner on it, there's no space for anything else really. Single cabs are real short. So anyway, let's listen to it real quick. All right, so it sounds good, like right where it's at, right? A little bit of smoke, but not much. So, I've also got an oil leak. Gonna have to take off the fittings again. Gotta let it all cool down, and then let that all cool down. Play with the carburetor a little bit more, get that right. So I gotta let it cool off. But with it turned way in like that, it's running okay. But as soon as I back that out, it starts to get lopey, and it should smooth out as you back it out, right? You turn it in, it starts to stall, you back it out till it doesn't, quarter turn more than that, and it won't do that. So that's kind of how you know when your idle jet's out, not right. If it won't adjust, if you turn it in, it keeps getting faster than usual, or you pull it out further and you rev it up a little bit and you get a little black smoke, it tells you it's too rich. So the idle jet's too rich. The main jet probably is too lean now. I don't know, because this whole exhaust system is going to change it. It's got way better flow. This thing should go down the road once I get that right. Should go down the road and not get hot. But it still looks kind of cool. I'm going to leave this back balance off because I've got to work on the oil leak. It's dripping. I'll let that all dry out. Then I'm going to have to take it off, let it all dry out. Use some thread sealant on everything, clean everything, and you know, all that sort of thing. You know, make sure, because it's typical pipe thread leaks. So anyway, that's it. I'm just gonna have to leave it here because I've got to get other videos on here. So we'll continue on with this once I get the carburetor figured out. It's going to take a little bit of time to do, and I got to let it cool. Can't mess with it while the oil's leaking, and let it cool down. It sounds good. It's just, like I said, it's not right. It's got to be right. It's got to be 110%. You do not break down in this truck. It's very expensive. You can't. Well, luckily the Haggerty picks you up, but they only, you know, they got limits on theirs too. So you got to pay the extra money to get it towed. So, and it ain't cheap, whatever it is, because this thing's too tall. It doesn't fit on a regular tow truck, most of them. If you can see right now, I mean, that's 12 feet, and tow trucks higher than that, that's a low boy height. So you put it up on a 3'6" foundation, and this thing's 10 feet tall. That's 13.6, which is fine, but try and find a tow truck that's only 3'6". Most of them are 4 feet, then you're over 14. So, and it's you know, oversized load and all that crap. And no, you can't do it. Well, what I was going to suggest is, if that came down to it, if we measured it off and we figured it was going to be over height, which we were 2 inches under, is just let the air out of the tires, you know, and then just pump them up when we get back. So anyway, that would do it. Anyway, but yeah, tell that to the tow truck driver. They don't want to hassle with anything. You know, they got to do quick, make money real quick. And if it's any extra stuff, they charge you a ridiculous amount of money, because that's how they make money. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.